Hi, Sarah. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me to your lovely home and for speaking with us today on the Grit and Grind.
Sure.
I met you at our boys' school when Colin first transitioned there. And I think you were like literally one of the first new people I met.
Oh, okay.
I knew a couple people just because from the old school, but anyway, it's been lovely getting to know you over the years and your wonderful son. Why don't you just introduce yourself and your family?
My name is Sara, and my son Mac is 15, and then my husband Rusty. It's just the three of us and our dog. I have lived in Baltimore for almost going on 19 years. Always just been at the same school, so we've been at Trellis since he was 4.5. We started there in their clinic and then transitioned to the school. Feel fortunate that we didn't have to navigate and do some of the things I know other families have to do in regards to advocating for their kids for non-pub placement.
Yeah.
But Mac's nonverbal, so we have navigated through the more challenging aspects of autism because he is nonverbal. Has been, I think, more challenging for other people to understand. It's one thing when they're 3 and 4, but now he's 15. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And, take it day by day, week by week in regards to your life of living with a child with special needs. So that's kind of a little us in a nutshell. Where we are, I'm the one that looks more at today and tomorrow and maybe next week. My husband probably focuses a little bit more on the long term. So
that's a nice balance, though.
Yeah, sometimes we are on opposite ends of the spectrum when we think of things, though. So it's you have moments, but I guess it's a balance. But then sometimes the other person has to see kind of where the other person is at, and where Mac is at in the moment. And then also long term. So it's an interesting. It's been a ride.
So it was a good point to bring up about Trellis because they did start as a clinic, and so you didn't have to.
I know.
Do that fight.
We were really lucky.
So great.
There, and the county also didn't really have a very robust special ed program that suited where his needs were at that time. So it just basically was a very easy transition. Now we still had to hire an advocate, which is unfortunate financially, but we did not have to pay what I know that some parents have to pay now.
Yeah.
In regards to that. So again, there was really no structure in place in the county based on his age and where he was going to access that suited his needs. And so, like I said, the stars kind of aligned for us. Yeah, we just were able to just start right out of the gate and never have to do any kind of what I would deem questionable or not rooted in like really strong research and success for their education. So we've been fortunate.
That's good.
About that.
That's good. We had something similar, like a similar process, because we're in Carroll County, and at the time they had nothing to offer.
Right.
So similar. And just glad that Trellis went from a clinic to a school eventually.
Right. Now they can go through 21, and so I don't, again, I live in the moment where he can stay there till he's 21, but he's 15 and a half, and so that's going to be here before we know it.
Yeah.
And there's the unknown. There's a lot of unknown to what the future holds in regards to that, and so that's probably the I think COVID in general really opened our eyes to what are we going to do when Max turns 21.
Yeah.
We're going to go from some daily, Monday through Friday, 12 months out of the year essentially, to basically nothing. And, we need to start, there's not a lot of options out there. I haven't done a lot of exploration into options, but it's one of those are the big fears of, what's going to happen. I don't necessarily not selling Max short, but I also don't know, does he really have a skill set to function independently in a job and or also even with assistance? So again, I'm not trying to sell him short on his abilities, but you have to be also realistic.
Sure.
And, what is he going to be able to do anything? And if he is, what will that look like? And it's definitely not going to be something that he's going to be gone for 6 hours a day. And so, that changes your outlook and your planning and those kind of things. So
I know we're all in this sort of same age group, and we're all going through those like pre-transitional tasks, and it's a lot. Thankfully, we do have some supports in terms of people guiding us.
Right.
We have someone in-house as well as on the outside. But even with that, there's just a lot of tasks. It's a lot to navigate, a lot to learn.
Right.
I just feel like I wanted to highlight some of the things I've observed as your friend, and you do a lot of great things with Mac. I know that you guys have like done some gardening projects.
Right.
I know you're always out and about on the weekends. In fact, I didn't realize, because I'm not familiar with this part of Baltimore, but I passed the NCR trail. Do you ever do that on the weekends?
He does like to go there, and then we also go up to, there's a couple, we go to Oregon Ridge to go hiking, and then also he likes to go up to, it's Sweet Air. It's part of Gunpowder.
Okay.
Up in Hartford County. It's not very far from here. So he enjoys being outside, but it also serves us a benefit as well, because it helps him. He's very, I say he's wired for sound. He's ready to go from the minute his eyes open to the minute they close. And so he's on the go, and he wants to be outside. Outside's his happy place. And it also basically burns off that extra energy that he needs. So him being outside is good for him, obviously, good for us, but then also, it's something that brings him joy. And so we try to, find those things. All kids are not created equal. And so I know that there's other kids that love to go to the pool. Colin, I know, loves the beach. Mac likes the beach, but we're Midwesterners originally, so the beach is not something that's like ingrained into us. That was always kind of a luxury, so we never like think about going to the beach. Mac does enjoy it, but he really enjoys being outside. So it's just an outlet for him. It makes him happy and gets him the exercise, but also he's very calm when he's outside, and so it's something that he really enjoys. So just like you always try to find things that your kid enjoys, and you try not to make them do something that they, obviously they do have to do things that they have to do, but kind of thing from an ABA perspective, you want to look from the formality of that, of giving him something to work for, or that's the reward. So that's always been beneficial. So rain or shine, freezing or hot, we're outside.
No matter what the elements are.
We've gone outside in the middle of a slightly sleety ice storm to go on the swing for 5 minutes because we needed to get outside. So it works for him. And so you can't fight something that works for them. I've learned, or you can try, but it usually doesn't work for you. It doesn't work for me. We just kind of have adapted to that. And we like being outdoors. So that's plus. It's not like
it's a chore.
Right.
Yeah, physically, mentally.
Right.
Helpful and healing and sustainable for everybody involved.
Right. And so for him, like I said, that's kind of the big goal. And so, I obviously, would love for him to do, some more. We're going to start to focus this summer on like being outside and maybe trying to kick a soccer ball.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines, just to give him something else to do, because I feel like that's important at this stage in his life, to maybe have a variety of things to do outside. He has a platform swing. He loves to do that and go on walks and that kind of stuff. But trying to work on adding to his repertoire of outdoor activities.
So he's not like much of an athletic kid.
No, he's not. It's not that we didn't play sports. I just don't. I know people are like, oh, there's adaptive soccer or adaptive hockey. I'm a horrible skater on skates, so I can't imagine him like not falling. Yeah. I think it would be one thing if we would have started when he was like 3 years old. It's kind of like skiing. My friend lives in Colorado, and her kids ski because that's what you do, and her kids have been on skis since they were literally like 2 years old. So I think if I would have, been like an avid hockey player or into hockey, maybe I would have done that. I know there's other kids at school that do that. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of him finding something that he enjoys.
Sure.
And do those kind of things. So I do wish that he would start running, because I think it would be good for his energy level, and just like his kind of get a pent up and get that energy out. We've talked to Katie, actually, the music therapist, because she's a big runner. She gave us some ideas, so we need to try doing that to see if we can get him something that like would be enjoyable. I mean, he can't really, he rides a bike at school, but it's like one of those adaptive bikes. And so I would have loved for him to be able to ride a bike to like go to the NCR. But he just really likes to walk along and pick up sticks and say hi to everybody that walks, that kind of thing. So,
just explore.
So
I get that. Like, Kyle's a lot like Mac in all of what you just explained. He's definitely not an athlete. We did try the ice hockey, and we tried soccer, and he hated every second of it. So, I think what I have learned, just to kind of like an offshoot through the spelling program, is that all of this is so like sensory motor for our kids. So that could be part of it, or they could just
not like it.
Not like athletics, so it's a simple time. Kyle doesn't even participate in gym.
Oh, okay.
Like, he's just like, I don't want to do this,
right.
So anyway, but yeah, there's like lots of foundational things, and we just keep exploring and going, and let's take it back a notch and tell me, there's your sweet dog, what a day in the life of Mac looks like. Maybe on the weekend, because we know what school looks like. It's highly structured, and
he's not really a we don't spend a lot of time in front of the TV. There are days that I wish that he would actually watch like a movie, but the attention's just not there. So we let him, he's a teenager, so he sleeps in, and we typically
I was going to ask how his sleep was.
Yeah, he's always been a really good sleeper. I can't complain there.
That's good.
So, kind of just let him get up and have, breakfast, and we usually decide, are we going to, go for a hike, or do we have other things to do for the day, and then we'll do it the next day. So fairly laid back. Obviously we're doing lots of renovations around this house, so he knows people at Home Depot.
Oh, that's awesome. He likes going there.
Yeah. So we go to Home Depot a lot. And so he's definitely interested in, like, when we do stuff, he'll, we're trying to teach him to like go get items, or he likes to use we don't actually have a drill connected to it, but like he likes to pull the trigger of the drill because it makes a noise. So he likes that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. He hates the sound of dishes clanking when you take them out of a dishwasher, but my kid loves a good chainsaw.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
If they're in control of the noise, right?
Right. So it's very interesting. He's definitely like that part is interesting. But so we just really...
So he's pretty chill at home.
Yeah. We're busy, but not like... We're not like going and doing specific activities where the day is just packed full of running around.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because he wasn't a neurotypical kid, so we didn't get involved in sports, and there weren't sleepovers, and there weren't like different things to do like a typical kid in elementary school or middle school or now high school does, where they're constantly running. I see some of our neighbors have 2 kids in high school, and they're constantly going, and it's the minute they get home from school they have to do this, and then they're going here, and then they're home and not eating till like. So I'm kind of happy that I don't have to do what a lot of my other friends are doing with their similar age kids, of running around doing, student council and drill team and dance recitals and
yeah, it's like a full-time job being a student.
Yes.
I mean, more than a full-time job.
Yeah.
Because it's more than 8 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've learned that we have to roll with Mac's punches. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's times where he has to go places that he doesn't like to go, or yes, there's times I have to take him to places I don't want to take him, but I don't not do it because, of him. In regards to, like, I would prefer to always go to the grocery store by myself because I like to go to the grocery store and I don't like to be bothered by people.
Sure.
Interrupting my alone time.
Yeah.
Same thing, I can, if we have to run an errand to, like, Target or something, like, Target's very overstimulating to him. And it's because I don't take him very often is partially probably why that's the case. But is it do I need to make him go to Target? No.
Right.
So I look at things a little bit differently than maybe some other parents do, and every family's different, and they may have a typical kid where they need them to go there. Maybe they work full time, and that's the only time they can go, and they have to think so everybody has their own structure to their life with their kid if their kid has autism. So I think that's part of it too, is that you learn pretty quick that the typical judgment of parental decisions, you are once you enter a realm that we're in, I feel like everybody does what they're doing because it works for them and it works for their kid. And every one of those, I mean, that, and I think that's the thing that people don't understand who don't have kids with autism, is that there's still, you walk into a typical 7th grade classroom, all the kids are going to be completely different. So why do you assume that if you walked into a 7th grade classroom of kids with autism at Trellis, that they're all supposed to be the same? Because they're not. And even if you have a school that's predominantly with kids who are anywhere between limited verbal abilities and nonverbal, they're all still individuals. And so I think that's the thing that people who don't understand autism have a hard time understanding, just because they don't talk or they use different tools to communicate doesn't mean that they're all lumped into the same pot of, if you want to say. I think that's the hard part, is that people just assume, or they assume, well, he's nonverbal, so that means he's dumb. Like he's not smart. Like he lacks cognitive understanding.
Yeah.
And I think that is in my opinion, a result of the media. Certain types of people, like, so specifically, you hear a lot about breast cancer in the media, because nowadays, through all of the advocating research, through medical research and trials and all that kind of stuff, in general, you always have a happy ending. And the media likes to talk about the quirky kid with autism that can play Beethoven at 18 months.
Yeah.
Or the kid who can do math and is, off to, Harvard but they're high functioning because they might be quirky, but wow, they're so smart. And then you've got the majority of kids who are autistic who are, for every one of those, Beethoven, whatever aficionados or whatever you want to call it, you have the rest of, for every one of them, I think they said the statistics is like there's 4 to 5 of like Mac. But Mac doesn't have that picturesque happy ending.
Yeah.
And so the media doesn't highlight our struggles or his struggles because it doesn't really sell a good story. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's really hard to get people to understand, because when they turn on the TV, they think autism is either they're like Rain Man, because when Mac first got diagnosed, there were people like, oh, so like, what's his thing? And I said, he's not Rain Man. This isn't a movie.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take him to, if Mac could count cards and we could win millions of dollars in Vegas, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you. We would be on a yacht in the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Because it would be a no-brainer. Like, so I think society or media or whoever you want it has spun it that way. And so that's the hard part, I think, is that people make assumptions that autism looks like this, and then when it doesn't look like that, then they make all these additional assumptions. And it's not their fault. I just wish people would be, I just don't think that we do a good enough job. And I'm not saying us as parents, because it's not really I'm not going to go try to explain to a stranger why he's, excited in the store, right, and educate them. Like, that's part of, educate yourself or that kind of thing. But I think they don't have the opportunity because media doesn't, as a whole, do a really good job of highlighting the real world of autism, and also that every kid's different.
Very true.
They just think that, oh, you have autism, so you don't make eye contact, you sit in the corner banging your head, and that's all. Like,
or rocking,
right?
Yeah.
And that's all that you do. Period.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah.
And it's so. At first, it used to irritate me, and now I'm like, I don't have,
I think it's a really valid point that you're bringing up. Oh boy, how do I want to say this?
Or maybe it's just the perception of autism.
But I think the media has a responsibility, right?
True, yes, they do.
But right now, they are being driven by very specific agendas, plural, depending on who they work for, what station. It's all become very political.
Correct.
I believe all that.
Right.
And you had commented about people, so like family, friends, neighbors, just people in our community. It's not their fault. And I hear you, but as someone who has gone through a lot, and I know that you have too, I do think that there is a level of responsibility for family and friends to inject themselves if they want to be a part of your life.
Oh,
and
yeah, absolutely.
Learn and ask questions and say, what can I do?
Right.
Because if, going back to your example, if it were breast cancer, that's what they would do.
Correct.
So
right.
why not autism?
So it's funny. I have some great friends. I have met people you can tell are very at ease with Mac.
Yeah.
And who always address him. All of our core group of neighbors that we're friends with here are always, hey Mac, how are you today? Like, very, and a handful of them are teachers by education, so you can kind of tell they have that teacher quality to them. It speaks volumes of the person when they're comfortable addressing and engaging with Mac, knowing that he doesn't talk. And I know that some people at first are not comfortable, and so they don't understand. Mac knows, probably more people know Mac in our neighborhood than we do, because he's always walking. And so people are like, hi Mac, and I'm always like, hi, and I'm like, I don't know what your name is, but you know my child's name. But so it is true, I have one very good friend who from the get-go has, she doesn't live close by at all. She has no really any other experience about kids with special needs or anything like that, but very attentive to Mac, and by default, her kids are. Ever since her kids were younger, now her kids are adults, they also are very attentive to Mac and address him when we see them. And I think that's as kind of a piggyback off of, you can see how some parents maybe do a good job of an explanation of, well, why is that kid like that? Well, and making themselves comfortable with it so their kids are inherently comfortable with it too. And not all kids, I don't expect a 10-year-old to feel comfortable, like I don't get upset if like we're at a store, we're traveling, and there's a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old that's like watching Mac, because they're asking. And if they were to ask me, well, what's wrong with him, I would tell them. So I have a friend who visited us last summer, and her youngest is, I think, 10 now. And he said, can I ask you some questions? And I said, sure, what do you want to know? And so he asked me, do people know, when you go to stores, do people know Mac? And I was like, well, yeah, we go to the same store, so they do. And so we were having ice cream, and he's like, well, do people know him here? And I said, no. And he's like, do they ask? Like, and so he was just being very, so I'm very like, ask me questions.
Yeah, I love that.
And be but I also understand if they're not comfortable. Like, not all kids at a certain age are comfortable, because I don't think I would have been comfortable if I was 15 or whatever asking questions. But so I'm very, you're very supportive of those people that ask, and then I understand. And some people just inherently aren't comfortable with Mac. And I have realized that some of those people who aren't comfortable with him, who are family members, I can't make them. I don't have time to try to make them. I will answer questions, but if I'm not going to bend over backwards, because I really don't have time.
Yeah.
And somebody might say, well, that's not right. But at the 15-year mark, if you haven't shown an interest or asked any questions, I'm not going to try to force something, because I look at from that perspective. So
I understand that.
And it's been, interesting evolution of that feeling of feeling like that, and coming to terms with Pam, Joey's mom, helped me one day realize I was very angry at my mother for not wanting to be a part of Mac's life. She was intimately involved with my nieces, basically was like their full-time nanny, and never missed a birthday, Christmas morning, you name it. And she would never come for his, even though I lived halfway across the country. I was like, come for his birthday. Oh, I can't. Come for this. No, I don't want to. And so I was very angry. And Pam, who I refer to as my free therapist, said, is your mom mad? And I was like, no. And she's like, say that again.
Wait,
so I was telling Pam how angry I was. She goes, is your mom angry? And I was like, no, she's not. She goes, say that again. Who's angry? I said, I'm angry. She goes, is your mom angry? And I said, no. And she said, paraphrasing, but she said, you're the only one angry here. And you're the only one that's getting yourself so upset about this. She's like, accept it for what it is, because it's about you being healthy and I was like, and once I realized that kind of spilled over for other things in regards to Mac, and I realized that I can't make certain family members want to be a part of his life, because I'm a firm believer that distance doesn't define a relationship when you're a family member. And once I realized that, I stopped. It's not that I stopped caring, but I stopped getting so hurt by it. Yes, do my feelings still get hurt? Yes. And I would be lying if I said that they didn't, because it's your kid and you think, come on. But I think that part is something that comes along with the evolution of, and I look at some other families that have family, like your mom's fantastic, or somebody else's grandma at school that's like intimately involved and comes to parties and does all that stuff. That wasn't in the cards for us because no one lives close by. And so, but I go back to the fact that distance doesn't define a relationship either when it comes to grandparents. And so if I was to specify, but so it's just those kind of things.
Okay. So Pam is an angel.
Right.
She has helped me in so many ways too. I'm so glad she gave you that beautiful gift in that conversation. I just wanted to ask you, if you don't mind, if I nudge a little bit further, because I think this could be helpful for so many people. This isn't an isolated incident. We all have this in some way, shape, or form, right? And so when Pam said that, and you had your aha moment, but there's still this process that you had to go through. I don't know if, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I guess my question would be, one, what was your process? Was it time? Was it other things? And two, have you been able to forgive?
Well, I mean, I definitely would say it's just time. And I wouldn't have to say I think it is a mixture of time and acceptance. And realizing the older you get, you really can't, and it's something that comes with age also, is that you realize you really can't make other people be be something that they're not capable of being.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's probably just the biggest thing. Yeah, I mean, I don't harbor, like, ill feelings towards my mother at all. I mean, she has Alzheimer's now, so that would be a horrible thing to do. But I understood. I realized that she was in a different place in her life, and so I accepted what it was. So my sister and I are definitely in a different part in our relationship. Her anger at me, her disagreements and whatnots, and our disagreements and where we're at in our lives with our relationship right now, she takes and uses her dislike for me and my whatever, and she uses that and ignores Mac.
Oh, okay.
And I think just because Mac has autism, he still deserves to be recognized on his birthday and at Christmas.
He's a human being.
Right. And so just because he doesn't talk does not mean he doesn't understand what his birthday is, and that he doesn't understand Christmas, and those two things are not exciting things for him. He might not know how to read a calendar for the whole global concept, that he can look at January and know that in March, like, and maybe he does, but I don't get hung up on that. But I think the being treated less than a human is probably one of the hardest things, and I say, like, that's probably the hardest pill to swallow. And I wouldn't say that it's like one of those that kind of it creeps back up and it gets caught in your throat, and you have to realize I can't fix them, but it still is hurtful that you are treating my child like a less than for whatever reason. And so I know that specifically back to my mom, it's not that she was doing that intentionally to hurt him. She just was in a different place at that time in her life. And I realized that again, that she was at a place that she didn't have the capacity, to do any of those kind of things. So I think that it's just a hard thing when you start looking at people and their behavior. You have to decide who you ultimately want to be in your child's life.
Yeah.
And sometimes the role of grandparent or any type of family member title, whatever you want to say, I have come to realize it doesn't have to be somebody who actually is blood related to you.
That's right.
So you can have people that come into your life and fill a void for your child, or make them feel what they feel. And so who cares if you're related to him or not, because he has a connection with them. And so, like I said, has some great connections with some of our adult friends, and they connect with him and always acknowledge him. And because of that mutual acknowledgement, he's very drawn to them, and he will seek them out. We have neighbors down the street that he is loves Chris, and always has to go say hi to him, and wants to and that's because he acknowledges it from the very beginning, acknowledged Mac, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's the beauty that you start realizing the older you get, is that you want to foster the relationships that are meaningful.
Yes.
And then everything else is just, it is what it is. And that's easier said than done. But for the most part, that's how I kind of have tried to look at it, is that you just kind of, do what you do. I
love that perspective, Sarah.
And like I said, it's not that easy.
One last question about this, because I'm just curious. Did you have strategies? Do you write? Do you just talk to a close person?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is, my one really good friend, she's known me for decades and decades. We've known each other since we were 12, so she knows all the dirty secrets of my family, and vice versa of hers. So she knows the personalities, and she knows how I feel, and so that's always helpful. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely that. I'm not a journaling person.
Yeah.
I guess I've tried. I tried when Oprah was really pushing it. I was like, damn it, I just can't do this.
But everybody has them.
I know.
They just don't write it.
I tried. So Yeah, so I think it's just more like just, or I talked to Kristen. I mean, her mom is going through some dementia as well, and she has, so you just kind of find those people, and Pam's also, those different, you just find those people that understand. And
so it's more talking it through with people that...
Right. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be someone who has special needs. I mean, that part is nice because they get it. They get when you are frustrated at a family member for being stupid, or saying something. But then sometimes it's helpful also for the friend who's known you forever and knows all the background and knows the dynamics to say supportive things or be supportive. So, yeah, I would definitely just say, like, the talk thing is probably my... vent, my way to vent and feel like I got it off my chest kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask about, okay, so everybody was like traumatized by COVID. But I know for a long time you did a lot solo.
Right.
And I think that's, damn amazing. And I kind of just wanted to, like, ask if you would just talk about your journey with that a little bit. Like, I know you had a little bit of help along the way. You had, like, some home ABA therapy and things like that. But sort of, like, I don't know, like, how did you do it for so long solo?
I mean, I just think that you kind of just... I mean, he was younger, so it was easier. Because he was younger. And and so they get older. Everyone says, oh, when they get older, it gets easier. I keep waiting for that moment to happen because it hasn't happened yet. And I think they're lying. But I think for the most part, you just get going and you get through them. And I think COVID was probably... obviously challenging for everyone, no matter what was going on. Everybody had their own... I talk to people who have typical kids, and their kids just have struggled horribly through COVID. Yes. And so everybody had their own unpleasant experience. And I would never take away somebody else's unpleasant experience and think that mine was more important.
Sure.
Or more traumatizing or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was really hard, because we were all trying to still do our job. I mean, I was still trying to teach, but now I was teaching online. Mm-hmm. And we were doing all these things, and then Mac had to have I've been very vocal. I mean, the first 6 weeks of lockdown, Mac sat in front of the TV the whole day while we were trying to navigate and transition. I was transitioning from teaching face-to-face to somehow we were supposed to teach online. Yeah. And everybody was trying to figure out how to do it. Rusty went from, going, traveling and doing all these things for their clients to figuring out how they were going to do it. And they really couldn't do some of the work that he needed them to do because hospitals had all shifted to, like, emergency mode. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that literally, like, the first 6 weeks he did, I mean, we put him in front of the TV with food, and it was horrible, but we were all in survival mode. Yeah. And then, then the behaviors came out because it was like, why am I not going to school? And everybody was different. And I think the frustrating part was I feel like we did get abandoned. For 6 months. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying something I haven't told to the powers that be. We were basically abandoned for 6 months with no communication, nothing. And then the response started to be, well, why don't you do in-home ABA? No, let's start working on some other things. And so I think that was very frustrating, and I felt like we just got abandoned. Yeah. And then it became
what happened during COVID can never ever happen again.
Right. Oh, absolutely. On lots of levels, for lots of different people. And I think that was probably my most frustrating part, is that we were essentially abandoned with nothing, no communication, no this is what's happening, this is what we're trying to do. It was nothing. It was silence. Yeah. And so I, it was very frustrating, and I think it was really sad that it happened that way. And granted, yes, there was not a section in some book to say, hey, when you have a pandemic, this is what you're supposed to do. But I feel like there were other schools, special ed schools, that pivoted and navigated in a much more efficient pro-student aspect than what we experience. And again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. That's my opinion.
And so, Catholic schools.
Right. So I think that, that was probably that was the hardest thing. And we just weren't really given any type of support. And then you're expecting a kid who goes to school and has a structure to then sit in front of the computer for, hours on end.
Yeah.
I mean, we went from 90 minutes of speech therapy to 13 minutes of speech therapy a week.
Yeah.
And that's the maximum we ever got. And half of the time, Katie had to be involved with music to get him to do stuff. So again, that's not speech's fault. But I just feel like there was not enough advocating for it to go back the way that I felt like it should have. And so that part was really super frustrating. And again, it just...
And what kind of behaviors did Mac have?
It was just he wasn't getting any type of stimulation. You would probably agree with this. We can't mirror what they do at school. I don't have all of that. I don't have a gym. No. I don't have so that was the hardest part, was trying to find things for him. And I don't have, a room full of all the things in which he has access to.
Sure.
So I think that was the hardest part, was that he was bored, and I could,
Was it like anxiety, pacing?
Yeah, and he just, his thing's not really pacing. He just, when he gets bored, then he starts throwing things and, wants attention. Why aren't you paying attention to me? So yeah, that was probably the hardest part, was just trying to navigate through all of that.
Sure.
And feeling like there was no support to navigate through that. So yeah, that was really challenging and unpleasant and all the above. So yeah, it was really hard. And then putting, unrealistic expectations on kids. Go to school, then don't go to school. We want you to wear a mask, but then you're expecting kids who are our nonverbal kids read a lot of nonverbal communication, and then they took that away by covering it up. And so that was...
So Mac did tolerate a mask?
He would only wear it over his mouth.
Yeah.
And that was about it. And then once that got lifted, I can't get it back on him, which I'm not shocked. And we don't really need it more anyway, but...
Thank God we're over all that, and... I think everybody's still mentally recovering from it.
Yeah, I do think so. And I think that, now you kind of are just wanting to just get back to whatever, just getting back to some type of normalcy and not feeling like there's this undertone of fear or what if, are they going to do this again, and that kind of thing. So I just, obviously I would love for Mac to be eligible for more than, what did we get, 60 hours? Yeah, we got 60 hours. But I also know...
I personally think the state owes us a whole year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm not going to disagree with that at all. So I think that that is a challenge that would take an act of God and Congress.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because I don't think that they, at the end of the day, see the statistics of the numbers. Mm-hmm. And I think that piggybacks to the beginning of our conversation of what is their real perception of our kids' input into society.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I look at it that way.
That's beautifully put.
Like, do they really do they think, well, it's no big deal. Are they really going to be valuable? I think that and I've talked about this with other people too. I feel like the only way something's ever really going to change for the parents and obviously kids and adults that are more on the severe side of autism is until a politician is directly impacted.
Yeah.
Because then there will be a cause and they have the clout and the connections and the pockets.
Do you mean Congress?
Yeah, just somebody like, I'm not like wishing this on anybody, but like think about the impact of the Bushes or Clintons,
right?
If they had a grandchild
yes.
who was severely autistic.
Yes.
We're not talking about a celebrity. Celebrities do have some, but they don't have the level in which you could change and implement change in regards to all sorts of things from programs and that kind of thing. And I've always said that I think that's, and like I said, I'm not like wishing that on somebody, but like I feel like until some high profile person is directly impacted and they're like, wow, like my husband went to a conference and Maria Shriver was there. She was talking, and her big thing now is Alzheimer's.
Yes.
And she was directly impacted. She comes from a family that has some political, obviously, power and all of that. And so when you hear her name and she talks about things, it's that combination effect.
Yeah.
And she can pack a room to talk about Alzheimer's. So when can we find somebody who can pack a room to talk about autism?
Yeah.
And it has to be somebody I personally feel like that is in that kind of subcategory of people that has some type of political impact, or not power, influence is the right word, that has that ability to then have this, and it may never impact Mac directly, but I would hope that it would happen eventually so it could impact people.
I just wanted to bring up the fact that, like, I am a big supporter of Bobby Kennedy, and I'm thrilled that he's running. And even if he doesn't win, he is shaking things up and dropping truth bombs. So while I'm not saying that every kid who has a regressive autism diagnosis was because of vaccines, I do believe there's environmental components, and then Bobby Kennedy gets all that, right?
Right.
So I think that there's some hope, but you're absolutely right. The people making decisions, especially in our state, hey, are you going to give our kids another year to try to, I don't even think catch up, but just try to, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of like refine to prepare them for that adult transition. They're clueless on the state level. I mean, we have Michelle Guyton, thank God, but she is only one person.
Right, and I do think that they are generally, they just don't understand. And I think that, Bobby Kennedy Jr., is he a junior?
Mm-hmm.
So I think he has the Kennedy name, but then he is going against the grain.
Yeah.
And so he has that battle. I think the even if you can create the dialogue and bring it to the forefront, and he's been very vocal, and I think that's great, and it's going to take more people being vocal to actually, make an impact. But yeah, I feel like until some high-powered, influential people are directly impacted and realize, oh shit, fucks. Like my grandchild has to do has all these limited services, and my adult child's having to fight for services and do this and do that and all these kind of things. This isn't right. I think that is what will hopefully turn the tables in the right direction. But I feel like right now it's just, you have a celebrity here and a celebrity there, and I don't really hang my hat on what celebrities are selling, and that's not that I don't support that, but they have you can't blame a celebrity for not bearing their soul. I mean, of when it comes to special needs and not all that kind of stuff. So I think that is a
Well, you've got people like, okay, so let's just name a few. Jenny McCarthy was dragged through the mud and back again for bearing her soul and her experience.
She was, and then because of that, I feel like she's just like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I get it.
And then Tommy Hilfiger, his granddaughter, but he's on a board that has a very specific agenda. So he's limited in...
Right. And then you have Dan Marino has a son with autism, and his son's older, and so does Doug Flutie. Those are both NFL people. Holly Robinson Peete.
Yes.
Her son's older. I think she did a lot.
Yeah.
But then, I think somewhere along the lines, she didn't do something wrong. I think it just didn't align with where she, and I think she was an advocate, and I think that's the problem, is that you have some of these people, or if you have the celebrity that comes out and says, oh, my child was cured from autism.
Yeah.
Doesn't do us any good.
Yeah.
Don't be saying anything stupid like that.
Yeah.
And so then I see that, and then that becomes kind of an issue too. So yeah, it just seems like
let's stick to the raw honest that's going to help every kid in our community.
Correct. I see the potential. Do I think it will happen before Mac turns 21? Probably not. But I think it's just a matter of advocating and knowing who to align yourself with, and then also in hopes also that somewhere down the line things change and make it better.
Yeah, agreed. Getting back to the transitional part, I know we have to start wrapping up here. I think you and I and our friends have accepted the fact that we're going to have to create our kids' future. Mm-hmm. We have a whole lot of time and we're bored as hell every day. No, we have zero time and we're stressed and we're anxious, and we're multitasking and we're doing all the things, but we also have to create the next step.
Correct.
Because there is nothing zippy zilch.
Right.
So, we'll just keep going.
Right.
Keep it on.
And some people have great ideas, and you can piggyback off of that or figure out what works for you. And again, holding true to what works for your family and your kid is what you have to focus in on. And what one person does and what is successful, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll be successful for your family and your child, and finding really what works. And I think it is about knowing all of that, and then realizing that in the grand scheme of things, there's going to be a lot of kids who are going to turn 21. And again, what in the world is going to happen? They can't just go ignored and swept under the carpet. This isn't 1982 anymore, where there was less diagnosed kids and they just kind of went away. Yeah. There's way more kids out there with a diagnosis, and there's way more parents, and parents have become much more savvy. And so because of that, what are you we're not just going to be okay, thanks, and walk away. You can't do it. And navigating all of it is a full-time job, and you do have to piece it all together, because you can't do it all at once, or you just walk away because you from just piles of all the paperwork and trying to figure out. So it is something you have to look at, and you have to look at the financial planning of it too. For our aspect, we know that Mac's going to have to live with us as long as possible until we can't physically take care of him, and finding someone to help supplement that and all those kind of things. It's a daunting task, and most people don't have the bank account to be able to say with confidence, oh, we're good.
That's right.
Because most people can't say that. So I think that's the hard part too. And
absolutely.
Of figuring all of that out from a transition perspective. So,
daunting's a very great word. So okay. So the last, just gonna kind of lighten it up just a little bit. I love this part. So what is your favorite book?
Oh geez. I don't have actually a favorite book. I do have a favorite author. Mm-hmm. I do like to read. I switch between James Patterson, specifically his Alex Cross books, which are kind of murderous and sadistic.
To get you out of your head.
And then completely different. I'm a sappy, predictable Nicholas Sparks reader too.
Oh yeah, I know his stuff.
But I haven't read in a long time, and I need to get back to it. But yes.
Okay. And then what would your dream vacation be?
Oh gosh, a cooking, eating adventure through Italy.
Oh, I love that.
And drinking wine too along this way.
Love that. Yes, that's perfect. Who inspires you?
I think it would be more of collectively, I think all of the women I have met through because of autism, not necessarily a person, but I think we are a subset of supporters that we can make inappropriate off-color comments to, knowing that if we said it to somebody else, they'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. And everyone can laugh or, give a thumbs up or, oh, I'll beat you, I'll tell you what this happened to me or that kind of thing. So I would have to say collectively, I always feel like my mom always used to say, everything happens for a reason, and by default you end up meeting people because of different ways of your life. And I think I wouldn't have been friends with a very important list of women if I wouldn't have had autism come into my life. And so because of that, I can't discredit the journey and have it say it's all been a struggle, because there's been great friendships that have come out of it.
Yeah.
That I would have never met you. I'd have never met Kristen or Pam or Lisa or Beth or any of these people if it hadn't have been for autism. We probably would have never crossed paths.
That's right.
It would have been probably unlikely. And so because of that, you have to look at the positives of that as well.
That's beautiful. I love that. What do you do for self-care or respite when you can?
My big thing is I just have to get a good workout in every day.
Okay.
That's my thing. That keeps me
ready
to go. I also tell myself I have to work out because I have to live as long as humanly possible. Mm-hmm. And so that's my thing. That's my outlet. That's my.
Is that running for you?
No, I have my Peloton.
Okay.
That's my thing.
Biking.
I've become a crazy.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. What is your best advice for parents?
I guess it would just be do what you feel is right for your child, and don't lose sight of that. Like, I think it's just do what's right for your child and for your family, and remember that another family might be doing something completely different, but you shouldn't shame yourself or feel guilty. And then I guess part 2 of that would be and it's very hard, don't compare your kid to another kid in his classroom or in the school. Mm-hmm. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. And I think some days you sit there like, geez, why can't we get over this issue? Or why are we still here? Or why is this still happening? And all I have to do is just glance over and realize, well, I could have this. Somebody else's struggle of something specific that kid has or struggles with. So I kind of remind myself of that. And it's hard not to. We all compare. We're like, oh, why can't my kid do that? Or why is this not happening for him, but it happens for this other one? Like, why can't Mac watch a movie and everybody else? Like, you quickly get into that, and then I have to remind myself, but we could have this. So stop it and move on. So I try to remind myself. I'm not saying I'm successful at like barring those thoughts, but I try to keep the comparisons to a dull roar and remind myself that I can't do that. I can't compare, because every kid has their own struggles.
Yeah, that's great advice. Hey, every day is like constantly practicing these strategies, right?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Sarah. This was wonderful.